You've probably been in that situation before, sitting across from someone, talking, listening, trying to figure out what's really going on beneath the surface. You hear the words, you process the conversation, but something still feels unclear. Almost like there's another layer to the interaction that you can't quite access. And later, when you walk away, you replay it in your head. You wonder if you missed something. You wonder if there were signs that were right in front of you that you just didn't understand at the time. And here's the truth that most people never get taught. Human interaction is not built on words alone. In fact, words are often the least reliable part of communication when it comes to attraction. Because words are controlled, they're filtered, they're shaped by social awareness, by caution, by the desire to not say too much too soon. But the body doesn't operate the same way. The body reacts first. It reveals things before the mind has time to edit them. That's where everything begins. When a woman feels something, curiosity, attraction, interest, it doesn't start with a sentence. It starts with a shift, a subtle internal change that moves through her nervous system before she even labels it. And that shift needs expression. It doesn't stay hidden. It finds its way out through movement, through behavior, through small physical actions that most people overlook because they don't know what they're looking at. And this is exactly where most men lose the moment. Not because the signals aren't there, not because she's hiding everything perfectly, but because they're focused on the wrong channel. They're waiting for clarity in words when the clarity has already been expressed in actions. Once you understand that, everything changes. Because now you're not just listening, you're observing. You're picking up on patterns. You're noticing the difference between random behavior and emotionally driven behavior. And that difference is everything. It starts small, almost invisible if you're not paying attention. A slight shift in posture, a change in how she holds herself, a moment where her attention locks onto you just a little longer than necessary. These things don't announce themselves. They don't demand attention, but they build. Quietly, consistently. And then her hands get involved. This is one of the most important things to understand. When emotion rises, the hands become active. Not in an obvious way, not in a dramatic way, but in a subtle, repetitive, almost unconscious way. Because the hands are one of the easiest outlets for internal energy. That's why you'll see her start touching things. At first, it might be her hair. And you've probably heard this before. People talk about it like it's some kind of cliché. If she plays with her hair, she's interested. But the reality is more nuanced than that. It's not the action itself, it's how it happens. Does it repeat? Does it happen when she's looking at you? Does it linger instead of being quick and functional? Because when it's just grooming, it's efficient. Fix and move on. But when it's emotional, it slows down. It becomes fluid, almost absent-minded, like her body is doing something her mind hasn't fully caught up with yet. That's when it means something. And if you stay present, if you don't rush to label it, you'll start to see the pattern expand. Her attention shifts inward and outward at the same time. She becomes more aware of herself while also being more focused on you. That's when the behavior moves from the hair to something more revealing, the neck. Now this is where things start getting deeper. The neck is not just another part of the body. It's vulnerable. It's exposed. It's not something people draw attention to unless there's a level of comfort, even if that comfort is still developing. So when she starts touching her neck, tracing it lightly, brushing her fingers along her collarbone, something important is happening. Her body is loosening its guard. Not completely, not all at once, but enough to allow that area to become part of the interaction. And this is where most men misread the situation. They see movement and think nervousness. They assume discomfort. But there's a difference between discomfort that creates distance and emotional activation that creates movement. If she's still engaged, still looking at you, still present in the conversation, then what you're seeing is not withdrawal. It's response. Her body is reacting to you, and that reaction doesn't stay isolated. It continues to evolve. Because once her attention settles and her comfort increases, she starts directing focus more intentionally. And one of the strongest ways this shows up is through her face. Specifically, her lips. Now, this is where things become very easy to misinterpret if you're not grounded. Because again, the action alone means nothing without context. She might touch her lips. She might press them together. She might apply lip balm slowly, almost thoughtfully. And if you're only looking for obvious signals, you'll either ignore it or overreact to it. But the truth sits in the middle. This is about attention. When she draws attention to her lips while staying connected to you, she's amplifying something your brain is already wired to notice. Not consciously, instinctively. And again, it's not about one moment. It's about repetition, timing, presence. Does it happen when the conversation slows down? When eye contact holds just a second longer? When there's a subtle shift in energy between you? That's where the meaning is. Because by now, her behavior is no longer random. It's connected. And as that connection builds, her body starts looking for more outlets. That's when you'll notice something that most men completely overlook. She starts interacting with objects, not in a functional way, but in a slow, repetitive, almost rhythmic way. Running her finger along the rim of a glass, twisting a ring, sliding her hand along the edge of something without really needing to. This is what controlled energy looks like. She's not directing it fully toward you yet, but she's not suppressing it either. She's managing it, letting it exist without crossing a boundary too quickly. And this is one of the most honest signals you'll ever see, because it's not performed, it's not calculated. It's the body finding a way to express something that hasn't been verbalized. Now here's where everything begins to shift. Up to this point, everything has been indirect. But when a woman is truly comfortable, when her interest reaches a certain level, that energy stops being redirected and starts becoming direct. She touches you, and this changes everything. Because physical contact is a boundary, and crossing that boundary, even in a small way, requires a decision. Whether it's conscious or not, a touch on the arm during a laugh, a brief contact that lingers just slightly longer than necessary, a moment where her hand doesn't immediately pull away. That's not random. That's intentional. And this is the moment most men mishandle. They freeze. They overthink. They break the flow. But the truth is simple. You don't need to do anything dramatic. You just need to stay present. Because what she's doing is not just expressing interest. She's testing connection. She's seeing if the energy she's giving is being met. And when it is, everything continues to build naturally. Because attraction is not a one-sided performance. It's a feedback loop. And once that loop is established, her behavior becomes even more refined. She starts adjusting herself. Her posture changes. Her movements become more deliberate. She smooths out her clothing, shifts how she sits, becomes more aware of how she appears in your presence. This is not about insecurity. This is about awareness. She knows you're looking, she knows you're engaged, and that awareness changes how she carries herself. And this is one of the clearest signs that your presence matters to her, because people don't adjust themselves for someone they don't care about. Now at this stage, something interesting happens. Everything slows down. The energy stabilizes. And this is where the final signal appears, the one most men misunderstand completely. She rests her chin on her hand, and you might think that means she's bored. But look closer. Is she still looking at you, still engaged, still present? Because if she is, then what you're seeing is not boredom. It's comfort. It's focus. It's her settling into the moment without needing to hide or filter herself anymore. And that's when you know something real is happening. Because at this point, her body is no longer managing the interaction. It's simply existing within it. And when you step back and look at the full picture, everything connects. From the first subtle movement to the final moment of stillness, her body has been communicating the entire time. Not through words, but through patterns, through consistency, through actions that reveal what hasn't been said yet. And once you learn to see it, you can't unsee it. You stop guessing. You stop missing the moment. You stop waiting for something obvious because you realize it was never meant to be obvious. It was meant to be felt, observed, understood. And now I want you to think about this. How many times have you been in a situation where these signals were right in front of you, but you didn't recognize them at the time? How many moments did you walk away from? Not because there was no interest, but because you didn't see it when it was happening. That's the real shift. And if you want to start reading people differently, understanding interactions on a deeper level, and never missing these moments again, Then start paying attention from now on. And if this opened your perspective even a little, then stay with me, because in the next video, we're going to go one step further. Not just how to recognize these signals, but exactly what to do when you see them.